What lies behind the mortal realm? What happens when we pass away from beyond this world? This has been a question we as a species and a society have tried to answer. This quest has led to the ghost story. Ghost stories and haunted houses have fascinated us as a society, and have found the perfect home in that of film. While we still tell ghost stories around the campfire or create unique ghost stories online, ghost stories are a vital part of our entertainment. The first ghost story was that of an ancient Roman, who claimed his house was being haunted by the ghost of an old man in rusty chains. Obviously, our interest in ghosts have developed far past that. But the stories told by many people have become a way to help guide our actions. Many ghost stories were used as tales to scare people into giving them a dark image of the future and trying to arrest that possibility. Many Irish and Scottish folklore also tell tales of stories of ghosts and foul spirits. Many years later, as society changed, so did these stories. With the arrival of the colonists to the North American continent, they brought many of those stories from England, Scotland, and Ireland to the early United States. One such example is Washington Irving's Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which incorporated a take on the Irish ghost known as the Dullahain. In this story, the Headless Horseman rides around the New York countryside and chases poor Ichabod Crane to his death, which is obviously a new interpretation of the Dullahain legend. Then, with the onset of the popular film media, ghost stories also followed suit. In 1896, The House of the Devil was released, which was believed to be the first ghost movie filmed in the director's garden. It was also believed to be one of the first horror films. Many years later, in the 1940s, as the monster movie formula grew stale and the studios went back to the ghost story, the film The Uninvited was a prime example of this. Also, with the growing of the film industry, horror genre developed even newer, more interesting ghost story. With directors like William Castle, who was the king of the movie gimmick, would go on to direct two of these very films, House on Haunted Hill and 13 Ghosts. Both used gimmicks the castle had been known for, such as giant skeletons hanging from the rafters of theaters, or early technologies of 3D glasses. Now, this genre would also see a shift into new other genres, of such as comedy and romance. The 1980s saw several funny ghost films, one of which was Ghost Dad, starring the now infamous Bill Cosby, and the fun, lighthearted film High Spirits, starring Peter O'Toole and Steve Guttenberg. These films played with the tropes of haunted houses and ghosts, but in a fun, lighthearted way. Later on that same decade, you'd have the horror genre really up the ratchet with Poltergeist, directed by Joe Dante and produced by Steven Spielberg. This film would later terrify us as kids, from infamous clown dolls terrorizing a young boy to a evil-looking tree in the yard. Also, in the 2000s, a surge to remake classic horror films became very popular. You have films such as The Haunting, which is a remake of a 1960s film with the same name. You also have remakes of William Castle's 13 Ghosts in House on Haunted Hill. You would also see a new take on horror films with the release of Ghost Ship by the same company that remade 13 Ghosts in House on Haunted Hill. Ghost Ship plays up the elements that made movies like The Shining, another classic ghost film, as powerful as it was, using claustrophobia and a dark atmosphere to terrorize the audience. As these films have progressed and become more and more of our public consciousness, we've also seen a shift to newer mediums for telling a good ghost story. Television has both done the horror of ghosts as well as the comedy of ghosts. Examples such as the American Horror Story series, namely the first season, which dealt heavily with a haunted house, to more humorous fare in the TV series Ghosts on American Network Television. We also see the rise of ghost stories on YouTube, namely ghost stories that are told through website Reddit and read on YouTube, as well as the rise of the creepypasta, which again play up the horror elements of a shared story. Sort of like a virtual version of the old campfire we all used to sit around and tell ghost stories. And as we look at our society and look at the complexity of the ghost genre, we have enjoyed in the horror genre this subgenre, more or less due to the fact that we all question what happens next. What happens beyond our current existence? Do we go to heaven or do we go to another place? Do we just exist in another form, trying to comfort those we've left behind? These are deep questions in the horror genre, and unlike some horror genre which uses scares just for the sake of scaring people, the ghost genre is deeper. The ghost genre approaches more philosophical concepts of death, life, and everything that goes with it. We will always still sit around the campfire telling ghost stories. We will always be able to come up with a good yarn to both terrify and create a shared community. So what can we learn from the ghost story? If you want, you could take from it that maybe those ghosts didn't finish their business, and we must always try to make sure that we live our best lives on this earth. Or maybe it's something not as complicated. Maybe it's just to accept that in the end we all will leave this earth at one point or another, and that we must always address these issues. Thank you for joining me today. As always, if you like what you see here, please like, subscribe. If you have any comments for me, please leave them in the comments section below. As we go forward, I think the next video we're going to be visiting is an exploration of the vampire. How he became such an impactful part of our horror experience.